Nobody wanted this cat. Not the shelter volunteers, not the families who walked past his cage without stopping, not even the vet who first looked at his paw and shook her head. He was thin, scarred, and wrapped in a bandage that never seemed to heal fast enough. And in 3 months, not a single person had asked to take him home. But one woman would, and what he would do for her, nobody could have predicted. Her name was Margaret Ellis, 62 years old, widowed the year before after 34 years of marriage to a man named Richard. The house they'd shared felt enormous now, every room echoing with a silence she hadn't asked for and didn't know how to fill. She wasn't looking for a cat, she was looking for a reason to leave the house that Saturday morning. The shelter smelled like bleach and old blankets. Margaret walked past cage after cage, barely glancing in until she reached the last one at the end of the row. A gray tabby sat pressed into the corner, his front paw wrapped in white gauze, his eyes wide and wary. A handwritten card taped to the cage read, "Found abandoned near the highway, injured paw, has been here 97 days." 97 days, Margaret read it twice. "He doesn't trust people much," a volunteer said, coming up beside her. "He was hit by something, we think, or someone. The vet had to operate on that paw twice. Most folks take one look at the bandage and move on." Margaret crouched down. The cat didn't move. He just watched her, still and silent, like he was waiting to be disappointed again. Other families had crouched exactly where she was crouching. A young couple had almost taken him home until they saw the bandage and asked if the injury was permanent. An older man reached out to pet him, and when Juniper flinched away, the man simply shrugged and walked to the next cage. 97 days of almosts. 97 days of people deciding in a matter of seconds that he wasn't worth the trouble. "What's his name?" she asked. "We've been calling him Juniper. He didn't come with one." Margaret reached toward the cage, slow enough that he could pull away if he wanted. He didn't. He leaned just slightly into her fingers. She signed the papers that same afternoon. The first weeks were not easy. Juniper flinched at sudden movements. He hid under the bed for hours at a time, and Margaret would sit on the floor beside it, talking softly, telling him about her day, about Richard, about the quiet that had settled over the house like dust. She didn't expect him to understand. She just needed to say it out loud to something that was listening. Slowly, the distance between them closed. He started sleeping at the foot of her bed, then closer against her legs, then one night curled directly against her chest, his bandaged paw tucked beneath him, his breathing matching hers. Margaret cried that night, not from sadness, but from something she hadn't felt in over a year, the simple, ordinary comfort of not being alone. By the second month, Juniper followed her everywhere, from the kitchen to the porch, from the porch to the mailbox. When Margaret started taking short walks again, she began carrying him in an old canvas bag slung over her shoulder, his head poking out the top, ears alert, eyes scanning the world like he was standing guard. Neighbors started to recognize them, the woman with the tabby cat riding along in her bag, like he refused to be left behind and she refused to leave him. Their day settled into a rhythm neither of them had planned. Coffee at 7, Juniper perched on the windowsill beside her chair. A short walk at 9, his head bobbing gently with each step from inside the bag. Afternoons on the porch, where he'd doze in a patch of sun while Margaret read, one hand always resting somewhere on his back, as if to check he was still there. Richard used to sit in that same chair. Margaret noticed, without quite deciding to, that she didn't feel his absence there the way she used to. If a story like this has already made you feel something, that's exactly why we tell them. Stick around, because what happened next is the real reason Margaret says Juniper didn't just need saving, he was sent to save her. In the weeks before it happened, Margaret's daughter noticed small things over the phone. Her mother getting tired earlier than usual. A headache mentioned twice, dismissed both times. Nothing that seemed urgent. Juniper noticed too, or perhaps he simply felt it, the way animals sometimes do. He began sleeping pressed harder against her each night, as if bracing for something he couldn't name. It happened on a Thursday evening in early spring. Margaret was alone in the kitchen, reaching for a pan on the top shelf, when a sudden wave of dizziness hit her so hard she had to grip the counter. Her vision blurred at the edges. Her left arm went strange and heavy. She tried to call out, but the words came out wrong, slurred, tangled. She collapsed onto the kitchen floor. Juniper was there within seconds. He pressed his body against her face, meowing in a way she had never heard before, sharp and frantic and relentless. When she didn't respond the way he expected, he did something he had never done in the 8 months since she'd brought him home. He ran to the front door and threw himself against it, again and again, screaming into the wood, then back to Margaret, then back to the door again, his claws scraping against the paint, his cries growing more desperate with every second that passed. A neighbor walking her dog on the sidewalk stopped cold. She had never heard a cat make a sound like that. She knocked, then pounded, then called out Margaret's name. When no one answered, she called 911. Paramedics arrived 9 minutes later. They found Margaret on the kitchen floor, conscious but unable to move her left side, and Juniper standing directly over her chest, refusing to budge even as strangers rushed into the house. One paramedic later said it took real effort to gently move him aside so they could work. Margaret had suffered a stroke. Doctors told her family that the timing had likely saved her from permanent, severe damage. A delay of even 20 more minutes, they said, could have changed everything. She spent 6 days in the hospital. Juniper spent every one of those days sitting by the front window, according to the neighbor who came to feed him, watching the street, waiting. When Margaret finally came home, still recovering, still relearning the strength in her left hand, Juniper didn't leave her side for a single hour. He slept against her chest again that first night, just like before, his bandaged paw long since healed, but his instinct to guard her stronger than ever. Physical therapy took months. There were mornings Margaret couldn't grip a coffee cup, evenings when frustration got the better of her and she cried quietly at the kitchen table where she'd once collapsed. Juniper never left the room during those moments. He'd simply climb into her lap and wait, patient and unmoving until the worst of it passed. People still ask Margaret why she chose the one cat nobody else wanted, the injured one, the overlooked one, the one who'd waited 97 days for someone to simply look at him twice. She always gives the same answer. I didn't rescue him. He just hadn't gotten to me yet. Today, Margaret and Juniper are inseparable, still walking the same streets, still riding in that same worn canvas bag. The neighbors who once smiled at the sight of them now understand it a little differently. That cat wasn't just along for the ride, he was watching. He always had been. Sometimes the ones nobody wants are the ones already preparing to save us, long before we ever know we'll need saving. So tell me honestly, would you have looked past that cage, or would you have stopped? Let me know in the comments below.